مع بقية الله في الأبدين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب ما قدمه للفلاح واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائه أجمعين من النار إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هن لباس لكم وأنتم لباس لهن صدق الله العلي العظيم. سلام. There are many verses in the Holy Quran that discuss the topic of marriage, and I've chosen one of those verses which describes the relationship of a husband and wife as hunna libasun lakum wa antum libasun lahunna. Your wives are a means of dress for you, and you are a means of dress for your wives. And there are many ahadith. I will begin with a brief introduction to this verse and a few points on this verse, and then I'll continue discussing some of the other ahadith that I've actually talked about marriage. This verse so beautifully describes the relationship between husband and wife as hunna libasun lakum wa antum libasun lahunna. Your wives are a dress for you and you are a dress for your wife. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the relationship of a husband and wife, it says that they are dress for each other. What are the different things that a dress does? The dress simply makes a person look better. Your dress makes you look nice, and if you want to look nice, then you get a nice dress. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that your beauty is in your partner. Even in English they say that your other half. They make you look nicer, and they make you look not so nice in front of their families. If you want to look nice in your in-laws, then you have to go through your spouse. And they would make you look nice in front of their family. If a husband wants his wife to have a good place and a good position in his family, then he has to praise his wife and give her dignity, respect and honor in his family. And if a wife wants her husband to look nice in her family, then she has to do similar things. The other thing that the dress does is that it covers you from the bad weather, from heat and cold of the weathers. The ups and downs of the life are to be covered with the spouses. They should cover each other in the bad and good times. They should help each other. They should strengthen each other morally and spiritually when they're going through difficult times, and they have to strengthen each other in the good and the worst of this life. What many times happens is that many of the spouses only support each other in good times, and they are not so supportive in the bad times. They have to be nice to each other in the better times and also in the worst times, but not ignore each other. One of the other things that the dress does is that it covers your deficiencies, your defects. Everything is hidden. It covers you up. That's how husband and wife should be with each other. They should cover each other rather than disclosing their deficiencies in front of other people. They should cover their deficiencies. And they should try and relate it to their own spouses, what deficiencies they see. They should not disclose it to other people. If that is not the line that you're going down, then you have a problem, because disclosing the secrets of your husband and wife would make them low in the eyes of other people and also low in your own eyes. And not only that, but they will have a very diverse effect when they see you dispraising them at all times. I do not wish to sound very critical of this relationship. I want it to sound nice. Islam, in many of the hadiths that Aimah al-Muslim have praised, they say that there isn't an establishment in Islam as strong as marriage. Not bunya in Islam. There is not a single building in Islam, there isn't a single establishment in Islam stronger than marriage. The Aimah al-Muslim have praised marriage so much so. You do not choose your relationships. You are born with the relations. All of your blood relatives are your relatives, not through choice, but through Allah's choice. He has given you your relatives, but you choose your spouse. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you choose a spouse, and with the recitation of a few sentences, you become halal on each other, you become permissible for each other. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says says that وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَهُمَا مَوَدَّةً, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places deep love between that relationship. That is so deep, the words in Quran describing the marriage institution. It is such a strong institution that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He places love. The people who have just become acquainted with each other, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, just after marriage I make them so close to each other that they feel that they have known each other for a long time. That is the deep love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I place in marriage. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَهُمَا مَوَدَّةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places deep love. We are living in a society where, now based on psychology, many of the psychologists argue that if you marry a person from your own culture, from the same background, then it takes about 1 year to become very close to each other. It takes about approximately 1 year. You learn so many things very quickly about each other that you become her and she becomes you. You learn so much so quickly, within a year. However, if you're from two different cultures, two different backgrounds, then it takes about 5 years before you learn strongly about each other. It takes about 5 years. Sometimes even more, if you're not communicating well with each other. Unfortunately, in this country, the marriage ends within the first 2 years. Most of the marriages within the first 2 years, in fact, many times within the first year. Because people do not have enough patience. The West has taught us many good things and many bad things. One of the evil things that we've picked up from the West is that we give up the relationship that we may take a vow to have a long, a lifelong relationship. We give up within the next 2 years. You get married and you give up within the 2 years and say that's it, it ends. In the Indian subcontinent, especially the Hindus, divorce was haram amongst them. According to the Islamic concept. They don't have a concept of halal and haram like we do. But they do have some do's and don'ts and forbiddens and allowed things. It is forbidden in the Hindu culture to get divorced. And now divorce is on a rise in India, but why? Because of the entry of the Western culture through films and through many other things, like media and other things, the websites and television channels, through literature, through many things. I cannot go into that now. But the Westernization has triggered off the rate of divorce in India. Why? Because we have no patience now. Marriage is all about give and take, submission, and Islam says it is the strongest institution. Why? Because it takes you out of selfishness, it takes you out of that, I, the first person, to we. You don't say I all the time, you say we and us. My other half, even in English, that's the concept. But the divorce rate in this country is quite high, and we, inshallah, we will hear inshallah from Sayyid Muhammad another week, that he will give you more depth into the divorce rate of the Muslims. Nevertheless, marriage itself is supposed to be something that brings families together. Islam is a religion that says marriage is not about just two individuals, it is the families that come together. Unfortunately, our concept of marriage compared to the Islamic concept of marriage are two different things. We believe, unfortunately, you will see this now, I will count a few things. Try and choose a person who has less people who will be involved in the marriage. Yes? As less as possible. There shouldn't be other people involved in the marriage. In the sense, there shouldn't be any relatives. Does the boy or the girl live alone? The boy live alone. Does the girl have a job? She'll be busy, so she wouldn't interfere with what we have. These are the concepts that we try and look into these days. Islam says that there is a breadwinner, and Islam makes that responsibility, places that responsibility with man. And Islam says, let's divide the responsibilities. One has to win the bread from outside, and the other one has to look after the house. Now the institution is that every man for himself. So what we get into is career-oriented people who say, let's have children looked after outside, and we will come into the marriage where responsible for our own selves and very little responsibilities about each other and about the whole institution of marriage, especially about children. Who suffer the most out of the divorce? The children. پتہ نہیں اردو میں سننے جانے لوگ کیا ہے. سب سے جو بڑی مصیبت ہے وہ ہمارے یہاں شادیوں کے اندر پہلے سے ہم نے ذہن بنا رکھے ہیں کہ ہم نے شادی سے ہمیں کیا چاہیے. آج کل خصوصاً ہمارے اس معاشرے کے اندر لڑکوں سے متعلق سوال کیا جاتا ہے اکیلا رہتا ہے, شادی کے بعد اکیلا رہے گا کہ نہیں رہے گا, گھر ہے, گاڑی ہے, اور اتنی مادیت کی ہم نے ریس لگا رکھی ہے کہ ہم مادیت کے اندر تو سب پی ایچ ڈی کر چکے ہیں. شادیوں کے اندر ہمیں مہارت ہے رشتے بنانے میں ایسے لوگوں سے جو مادی لحاظ سے ایک بہت اسٹیبلشڈ فرد ہو, انڈیویجول ہو, اس سے ہم شادی کرنا چاہتے ہیں اپنے بچوں کی. فیملی کیسی ہے کیا نہیں, ہمیں فرق سے نہیں. جب مسائل شروع ہوتے ہیں کہتے ہیں نہیں وہ مذہبی نہیں تھا, وہ ایسا نہیں تھا, وہ ویسا نہیں تھا. بھئی آپ نے پہلے کیوں نہیں چیزیں سوچی؟ پہلے آپ مادیت کو دیکھتے رہے اور شادی ہو جانے کے بعد پھر آپ نے کیا سوچنا شروع کیا؟ معنویات کی طرف جانا شروع. لیکن وہ کب ہوتا ہے؟ جب تاخیر ہو چکی ہوتی ہے. اچھا, اور ماشاءاللہ سے ہمارے نوجوان بھی ایسے ہیں کہ وہ نہیں میرا فیصلہ کب دیتے ہیں؟ طلاق کے وقت. شادی وقت نہیں بتاتے میرا فیصلہ کیا ہے. وہ سب چلے جاتے ہیں, طلاق ہونے لگتے ہیں, کہتے ہیں میرا یہ فیصلہ, میں اس شادی میں نہیں رہ سکتا. بھئی پہلے ہی سنا دیتے اپنا فیصلہ تاکہ دوسری زندگی تباہ نہ ہوتی. آپ اپنی تو تباہ کرنے والے تھے. ہمارا سب سے بڑا جو بنیادی جو خرابی ہے نا ہمارے اس موجودہ معاشرے کے اندر, خصوصاً جو کنفیوزڈ ہمارے نوجوان ہیں. کیوں کنفیوز میں کہہ رہا ہوں؟ اس لیے کیونکہ نہ ہی اب یہ پاکستانی رہے ہیں اور نہ ہی پوری طرح سے برٹش بنے ہیں. اب یہ کنفیوز معاشرے سے گزرے نا ہم لوگ. 3 نسلیں لگتی ہیں, کچھ ہم نے اپنی چیزیں دے دی ہیں اپنے بچوں کو اور کچھ زیادہ تر چیزیں انہوں نے یہاں سے پک کر لی. توجہ ہے سر لوگ میرے ساتھ؟ ایک ایسے معاشرے کے اندر جہاں پہ ہم نے لڑکے سے متعلق بنا رکھا ہے کہ وہ مادی لحاظ سے کتنا اسٹرانگ ہے, معنوی لحاظ سے کچھ نہیں. وہ تو جب شادی ہو جائے گی تو پھر ہم لوگ کوشش کریں گے کہ زور دے دلا کے اس کو اپنی باتیں منوا لیں. لڑکی میں کیا تلاش کرتے ہیں؟ بہت مہارت کے ساتھ. ہندوستان پاکستان میں تو باقاعدہ انہوں نے کیا کہ لڑکا کا ڈاکٹر ہے تو پھر لڑکی اتنا جہیز لے کے آئے گی. وہاں پر انہوں نے پہلے فیصلے کر تو پھر کوٹھی آئے گی, گاڑی آئے گی. اچھا, اگر لڑکا مثال کے طور پہ سافٹ ویئر انجینئر ہے تو اس کے اندر یہ چیزیں لے کے آئے گی. انہوں نے تو ایک پورا منحوس سا معاشرہ بنا لیا, تو کافی حد تک افیکٹ ہوتا ہے. ایک نہایت غیر اسلامی, نہایت غیر انسانی معاشرہ ہم نے بنا رکھا ہے. لڑکیوں سے متعلق کہ ہمارے کیا یہاں پہ جو ہم نے دیکھا ہے زیادہ تر شادی کا ہمارا کیا نظریہ ہے؟ آئے گی, نوکری کرے گی یا نہیں کرے گی؟ نوکری کرے گی تو کتنے ٹائم پہ نوکری کرے گی, ساتھ میں ساس سسر رہیں گے یا نہیں رہیں گے, وہ لوگ کتنا کنٹریبیوٹ کریں گے, وہ کیا کر سکتے ہیں بچوں کے پالنے میں, نہیں تو پھر نرسری کون سی. یعنی یہ جو ہم نے اپنے ذہن بنا رکھے ہیں نا, ہمارا کچھ انسٹیٹیوشن آف میرج کچھ اور ہے اور اسلام نے کچھ اور بتایا ہے. دو کنٹراڈکٹری, دو بالکل متضاد شکلیں ہم نے تیار کر رکھی, ساتھ چل رہی ہیں. اچھا, اور سہارا کب لیتے ہیں اسلام کا؟ ہم لوگ اسلام کا کب سہارا لیتے ہیں؟ جب ہم ہر چیز خراب کر دیتے ہیں. کہتے ہیں یہ اپنی اسلامی ذمہ داری پوری نہیں کرتا. یہ آپ نے شادی سے پہلے باتیں کی تھی, ابتدائی دور میں یہ باتیں ہوئی تھی؟ بالکل بھی نہیں. اچھا, کچھ تو اس حد تک ہے کہ نہیں لڑکی اسکارف نہ لیتی ہو, نوکری کیسے کرے گی؟ لڑکے سے متعلق شرائط ہم پیش کرتے ہیں, میں نے خود بہت سی جگہوں پہ دیکھا ہے. مذہبی ہو, اچھا مذہبی کیسا ہو, کیا ہو, مثلا ہم بات بتا دیتے ہیں. You know, we just can't a few conditions that's how they should be. For example, they should be praying, fasting. These are the conditions. No, that's not what we're looking for. Then what are you looking for? Oh, he shouldn't be a drunkard. He shouldn't have all of these negative things that we start counting. We start to slowly tick off our conditions, the negative things, rather than the plus points and the positive attributes. We try and look for the negative attributes. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should have some positive attributes in your belief, and he shouldn't have certain things. Those are called negative attributes. What do? Should he have these things? Oh, no. That's not the path that we want to go down. These are the things that he should not have. Not too large a family, no responsibilities after him. Shouldn't have too many brothers and sisters that he has to marry off. Is that truly human, let alone Islamic? What if a person does have a large family? These are our institutions. Let me just give you a few points that I quickly want to point out, and then I'll go into the points that I want to. Our definitions of certain things are completely corrupt compared to the Islamic definitions. Let's see some of our definitions. The Holy Prophet ﷺ was passing by, and he saw that there are some youth, some young boys who are picking up some rocks. So he said, what are you all doing? They said, Ya Rasulullah, we are trying to find out who is the strongest one of us. You see, they did not have proper weights in those times, They did not have bars and weights, so they could lift and say, okay, you can lift 100 kilos. He's strong. So they had, rocks they were picking up. Ya Rasulullah, they were trying to find out who is the strongest one of us. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, shall I decide for you who's the strongest one of you? If I decide for you, will you accept? He said, of course, Ya Rasulullah, we believe in you. We believe in your prophethood. If you decide, then there will be no dispute. He said, the strongest one of you is not the one who can lift the highest weight. The strongest one of you is he who, when in power, does not take more than what he deserves. And when happy, when he's pleased, he does not displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And many times we are pleased, we do things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes angry. When pleased, then he does not displease Allah, and when displeased, he does not displease the other people. When we are angry, a person says, what's wrong? You say things to them and make them angry as well. Yes? Look, our definition of strong. A person who is a bodybuilder, a person who can lift a lot of weight. Yes? And the definition of the Holy Prophet is completely different. Our definition of bravery. The biggest bully in the street is the bravest man. Oh, he can take up a few people. The biggest bully in the street. Or the biggest bully in the school. He is the bravest person. The first toughest, that was a term in my time. In the 80s and the early 90s. I recall from Birmingham. The first toughest meant, the person, the biggest bully, basically. Look at the definition that Islam gives. Who is the bravest man? Amir al-Mu'minin says, he says, the bravest man is he who goes against his evil desires. Our definitions and the Islamic definitions, the definitions given by the Holy Prophet and the Aimmat of Islam are two different, contradiction pictures. Let me just give you one more example and then I'll define marriage. One more example. The Holy Prophet is passing by and there are some children standing up with stones and they're throwing at a person. They're all hitting him. So the Holy Prophet stands in front and says, what are you doing? They all say, Ya Rasulullah, Hada Majnoon. He is crazy. He's a madman. Diwana. Isliye mara. The Holy Prophet said, Hada Mareed. He is ill. He's not crazy. Crazy is he who does not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Majnoon is the one who doesn't believe in Allah. Our definitions are completely different. What is our definition of marriage? I will not define for you. You decide for yourselves. But Islam says it is a pure relationship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I made legal, I made halal, and I forbade other things. I made things which are haram, but I did not just stop you from haram things, I gave you a halal means for it. Haram az-zina wa ahalla al-nikah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the marriage halal. He made it permissible, and He made so many other things haram. Marriages of two types, permanent and contemporary. The misuse of anything does not make it haram. Many of us misuse laws, For example, there are laws in this country that we may misuse. Islam says, I'm giving you a halal way out. We are willing to do haram but not take the halal way out. Islam says, no, there are legal and halal ways for fulfilling your needs and requirements and desires. But we ourselves have definitions, we define things ourselves, and then we go down that line where we do not look into the definitions given by Islam. I did not wish to make it so dry. I had so many other things in mind. Another 5 minutes and then I will, then we'll take some questions. Probably even less than 5 minutes. Let me just give you the final definition of marriage. Islam says marriage is something that once you enter into a relationship, these days, in olden days, I remember, the Pakistani and Indian mothers would say, "Beti, hamare yahan se tumhari doli uthi hai, wahan se janaza uthega." The old mothers from India, Pakistan. And today, "Beti, koi zarurat nahi hai, zyada musibatein bardasht karne ki, talaq badi aasan hai, aap ghar aa jana." These are the definitions. Over the time we have changed. In olden days they would say, you have to remain in that house. And these days they say the easy way out is divorce, just come back. You see, Islam says divorce, yes, is permissible, but it is the most hated act. It is makruh and the most hated act by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most hated permissible act. Amongst the things which are permissible. But what we do is, we take the most hated act as the first way out. Islam says that is not what marriage is about. Marriage is all about give and take, forgive, forget. Is that what we do? What is our definition of marriage? If you honestly submit and commit to a relationship for 5 years, then you will surely see the positive sides of marriage. But if you're not positively committed to a marriage, then you will not see the fruits of that marriage. And the last thing that I want to say, look at the description of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Please do read on to, there are hundreds if not thousands of ahadith on marriage from Imam Ali alayhi salam. Hundreds if not thousands. At least 800-900 traditions you can find. In fact, probably 2,000-3,000 ahadith I do recall. Just in Wasail al-Shia, just look at Wasail al-Shia. Look at the description Imam Ali says. When the Holy Prophet gives a hand of, Hazrat Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, into the hand of Imam Ali, he says that she is my endowment, my amana to you. These are the words of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, she is my amana with you. My endowment. And he says, I will divide the responsibilities between you two. O Zahra, you will look after the house chores, and O Ali, you will look after the outside. Imam Ali will do the outside things and come back home early to try and help Hazrat Zahra. How many of us? The women who work and the men who work. Even then the men expect the women to come and do the household chores, household jobs. Even amongst the Western people I've seen, they still expect that she should come home and start cooking. Look at the words. This is the Islamic institution of marriage. With the last word, the Holy Prophet asks his daughter, Hazrat Fatima Zahra, how did you find Ilm al-Talib? And look at the words. This sentence by Hazrat Zahra is the base of the institution of marriage in Islam. What does she say? Ya Fatima, how did you find Ali? She says, Khairu awnin fi ta'atillah. He was the best help in serving, obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ali is the best help. Ya O father, Ya Abati, Dad, O father, Ali is the best help in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is your spouse like that? And when Imam Ali was asked about Hazrat Zahra, he repeated the same sentence. وَجَدْتُهَا خَيْرَ عَوْنٍ فِي طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ. I found her to be the best help in obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in submitting to Allah. That is the institution, that is the Islamic institution. That is the Islamic concept of the marriage institution. Islam says that you should be both helping each other in becoming better human beings, in better Muslims, in better believers, in better Shias. You should be becoming a better person by getting married to that person. So your spouse should make you a better person, not whatever you think, but no, a better human being, a better Muslim. If that's what they do, then they are submitting to the institution of marriage. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
मैं सबसे दरख्वास्त करता हूँ कि आप लोग कोई जो भी क्वेश्चन है आप लिख के भी दे सकते हैं, और कोई चाहे तो माइक पे भी वो सवाल कर सकता है उससे। सवाल मैंने आप लोग
The first question is, how much age difference between husband and wife? Islam has not emphasized on a particular age difference, but Islam has said that the girls become baligh at 9 and the boys at the age of 15, so there's about a 6-year age difference. 6-year age difference based on bulugh. Some ulama argue that the difference in age of adulthood, yes, is the difference of age Islam has placed. Otherwise there isn't as set. Even the women can be older, and younger. But this is an individual's decision. The husband and wife, it is their decision. Islam does not emphasize on a particular, there is no age difference. So 6 years, these days, many people will find it quite difficult. They only want 2 or 3 years age difference. It is my opinion that children born in this country should have a father, should have a partner, preferably from this country. But parents sometimes ignore this, and later on they regret it. I have said that, the cultural differences have an impact. Many parents do choose, you see, why has it now become a law in this country that you cannot force people to get married and before 18, and now if the partner is coming from abroad, then the girl and the boy has to have, they have to be at least 21. Why? Because of our mistakes. The boy and the girl, they were being brought up in this country, and the father or mother decided that they will go back to the village that they belong to in India or in Pakistan, and they will bring the spouse for their children from that country. That obviously made a lot of things difficult, and that made the divorce rate high. I have now a few questions. I will not take any more questions.
One more question that somebody asked to you. Majority of the children here, they said they want to get married that person, they have to spend some time with him or with her, and they can't go straight away marriage. So how does Islam look at these issues?
Knowing your partner from beforehand. Islam does not say that it is something encouraged or discouraged. In Iran they have tried this and it hasn't worked. Okay? So we go through trial and error. People trying to find out about each other from before. Has it dropped the divorce rate? Knowing each other for a year or two, it doesn't help. I have not seen it help. The lowest divorce rate, if I have the attention of everyone, do you know that the lowest divorce rate is in the Orthodox Jews? मज़हबी जो यहूदी है सबसे ज़्यादा उनमें तलाक का रेशो कम है. The lowest. जानते क्यों? You know why? The boy and girl have no choice. The parents tell them, you're getting married to so-and-so person, so-and-so day, get ready for it. Till we had the similar system in India, the subcontinent, the Hindus and the Muslims, the divorce rate was quite low. Now 40%. I'm not saying that the parents are making the right decisions. No, they are not either. They're not helping much. The parents are not helping. But the children giving, in olden days, एक मुहावरा है उर्दू का, मैं उसको ट्रांसलेट नहीं करूँगा इंग्लिश में. पुराने ज़माने में कहते थे कि नौजवानों को रिश्ता लेने मत भेजें और बूढ़ों को सवारी लेने मत भेजें, क्योंकि वो चलना फिरने के उनको शौक नहीं है, कहते जो सवारी लेके घर चले, मतलब कौन घोड़े को दौड़ा के देखेगा, और नौजवान को भेजेंगे रिश्ता लेने के लिए, जो पहला रिश्ता देगा वो घर आ जाएगा. लड़कों के रिश्ते माओ को देखने चाहिए, बहनों को देखने चाहिए, और लड़कियों के रिश्ते जो हैं वो बाप को और भाइयों को देखने चाहिए. इंस्टीट्यूशन जो है ना वो हम लोगों ने, we are now going through the trial and error process where we are adapting all sorts of things from every society, every corner that we can take, and yet it is still not working. The divorce rate is still high. So in India and in Iran, they have tried new things that they should know each other from before. These things haven't worked much, to be honest. These are Allah makes two people come close, but this is only physical closeness. Oh no, this is not physical closeness. Allah makes two people become close. Would you read it? मैंने कहा सब सवाल नहीं हो।
Maybe 5 minutes more, please.
अच्छा।
बैठ के जवाब दे।
हाँ नहीं कोई मसला नहीं बैठने का इतना इशू नहीं है मैं दूसरा टाइम नहीं खाता। No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places love. When I say that Allah makes them close to each other, this is not the physical closeness, it is the spiritual closeness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. और ध्यान से मुआहिद के फ़िरौन मुशरिक था, क्या ये शादी जायज़ थी? क्या ऐसा नहीं है कि शरीयत के बहुत से रूल्स हमेशा एक जैसे थे? शुक्रिया अगर तमाम मौलाना हज़रात इस सवाल के बारे में कुछ बयान फरमाएं तो शुक्रिया। Okay, first of all, ये आया इतना ही वाज़ेह था. You know, the question is about the Asiya and Pharaoh. They got married. Did Hazrat Asiya become a mu'mina while she was, wife of Pharaoh, or was she already a believer? She became a believer in Hazrat Musa and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when she was already married. And Hazrat Musa knew to guide her or not to guide her. She was a special case. You cannot isolate that case and use it for all ages. ये एक आइसोलेट नहीं है सकता केस हज़रत आसिया का, क्योंकि उनका ईमान यानी वो ईमान जब लाई हैं तो पहले से फ़िरौन की बीवी थी, हज़रत मूसा की वजह से ईमान लेके आई हैं. और उनका केस जो एक ऐसा केस है कि जहाँ खुद एक नबी मौजूद थे उनको रहनुमाई करने के लिए, उनके घर में मौजूद थे, उनके आगोश में बढ़ रहे थे, जवान हो रहे थे और वही का सिलसिला उनके सामने मौजूद था. शादी में जो सबसे बड़ा मसला होता है वो अलग अलग अकीदा. हम अपने बच्चों के लिए रिश्ते की कहीं बात करें तो लोग कहते हैं आप शिया हैं, हम अहले सुन्नत या अहमदी हैं, तो वही बात खत्म हो जाती है. प्लीज़ हमें बताएं कि हम कहाँ से बचे ढूंढें. प्लीज़ हमें वो रास्ता बताएं या इदारे में कुछ शुरू करें या वेबसाइट पर बनाएं. जी हाँ, ये एक ऐसा मसला है कि इस मुल्क के अंदर, इस मुल्क में तो क्या कि आप पाकिस्तान जाएँ तो वहाँ पर भी आपको जाने के बाद एहसास होगा कि ये मसला हल नहीं हो रहा. शादियों का, रिश्तों का, माँ बाप अगर सोशल नहीं होते, मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा कि और सवाल आता है प्लीज़. शादी का मसला जो है, हाँ हमें इसमें माशरे के लीडर्स की हैसियत से मुस्बत किरदार अदा करने की ज़रूरत है. और अब तक इसको न सिर्फ ये कि उलमा ने नहीं बल्कि माशरे के जो दूसरे लीडर्स हैं उन्होंने भी कोई किरदार, मुस्बत किरदार अदा नहीं किया शादियाँ करवाने में और इसको कोई ऐसा इदारा बनाने में कि जहाँ पे रिश्ते हो सकें. बहुत से मैरिज ब्यूरोज हैं जिसके अंदर खुद मौलाना और हम लोग जितने कर सकते हैं, लेकिन कोई बहुत अच्छा इस्टेब्लिश निज़ाम हम अब तक नहीं बना सके कि जहाँ पे रिश्ते हो सकें. और एक अच्छा बेहतर निज़ाम बनाने की ज़रूरत है. मैं ये दरख्वास्त करूँगा कि ये कंसिडर ही मत करें कि हम दूसरे मज़ाहिब और दूसरे फिरकों के अंदर जाके अपने रिश्ते करें. वहाँ पे जब बच्चे यहाँ पे आते हैं तो उनके बीवी या शौहर को ये अंदाज़ा नहीं होता कि आदमी शादी तौर पर 13 रजब है, मुहर्रम शुरू होने वाला है, रबीउल आने वाला है, उनको कुछ पता ही नहीं होता. और वहीं से तसादुम शुरू हो जाता है. थोड़े से बच्चे बड़े होते हैं, वो फौरन कहते हैं नहीं ये कुरान जो है वो शिया मस्जिद में पढ़ेगा या सुन्नी मस्जिद में पढ़ेगा, नहीं मजलिस में नहीं जाएगा, मातम करेगा नहीं करेगा. बहुत छोटी छोटी बारीकियों के अंदर इख्तलाफात बढ़ जाते हैं और शादी के अंदर फिर बच्चे होने के बाद इख्तलाफात बढ़ते हैं, ख़त्म नहीं होते. इसलिए अवॉइड करें दूसरे फिरकों के लिए शादी करना. शादी की सूरत में दूसरे का मतलब अगर कोई जुल्म हो, दूसरा मजलूम अगर निज़ाम की तरफ हो जाए, हर किस वजह से कि जुल्म के पास रुपया पैसा है, इस सूरत में मजलूम क्या करे. सवाल ये है कि अगर मिसाल के तौर पे खुदा ना खास अगर कोई मौलाना किसी जालिम का साथ है, हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ में कोई जालिम होता है दूसरा मुस्लिम होता है, क्योंकि जो जालिम वाली पार्टी है उसके पास पैसा जाता है. सवाल ये उन्होंने किया है. अल्लाह ना करे कि ऐसा हो. मैं नहीं समझता कि इतनी आसानी से सादगी से आप ये इल्ज़ाम लगा सकते हैं. देखिए एक बात बुनियादी तौर से समझ लीजिए, शादी में जब भी झगड़ा होता है ना तो किसी एक के थोड़ा सा हक में तमाम होता है और दूसरे की मुखालफत में. फैसला करने वाला जिसकी भी मुखालफत में तमाम होगा उसका दुश्मन बन जाता है. तो ये लाजमी नहीं होता, चाहे कोर्ट में भी जाए, ओ द जज वाज अ वुमन सो शी बेसिकली टुक माय वाइफ्स साइड, ये कोई मैंने आप सुना. क्योंकि जज या मिसाल के तौर पे वकील खातून थी या जो सोशल वर्कर थी वो खातून थी. मर्द और औरतें एक दूसरे के लिए तलाश करते हैं बहाने. सबसे बड़ी मुसीबत यह है कि हम हर जायज नाजायज इल्जाम लगाने के लिए भी तैयार होते हैं और नाजायज तरीकों से जान छुड़ाने के लिए भी तैयार हो जाते हैं. ये अच्छी चीजें नहीं हैं. With regards to choosing your spouse, the Sayyid non Sayyid is a common issue is there any example in Islamic history where a marriage as such took place? Please reply. अभी कंट्रोवर्शियल एक बहुत बड़ा इशू जो हमारे यहाँ माशरे के अंदर बहुत ही जोरों पे है, उसको मुझे दे दिया गया अल्लाह यानी इंशाअल्लाह बात आने वाले मौलाना हज़रात के बता रहा हूँ, लेकिन मैं जिस तरह से भी जवाब दूंगा मैं जानता हूँ मैं ही पूछूंगा। मसला ऐसा है कि कुछ हमारे यहाँ कंट्रोवर्सीज इतनी बड़ी बड़ी हो चुकी हैं कि जिस तरफ से भी जवाब दें उसमें लाजमत गालियाँ खानी पड़ती। वाकई हकीकत है, बहुत सी हमारे यहाँ कंट्रोवर्सीज कुछ हैं और कुछ बना ली गई। दोनों अपनी अपनी दलीलें रखते हैं। सैयद और सैयद के इशू के अंदर जो समझते हैं कि सैयदादी का, सैयद मर्द का तो नहीं, सैयदादी के मुताबिक कि उसका आप गैर सही से हराम है वो भी दलीलें दे देते हैं, और जो समझते हैं जायज़ है वो भी दलीलें देते हैं। और इसमें बस ये है कि अपने अपने फुक़हा की इमारत की तरफ रुजू करें। हमारे बहुत से मुआशरों के अंदर खुसूसन पंजाब और सिंध में ये काबिल कबूल नहीं है, और अगर वहाँ पे इस मसले को उठाया जाए तो कत्ल तक हो जाते हैं। तो जितना हो सके इन कंट्रोवर्सी से खुद अपने आप को दामन बचा के चलें, बजाय इसके कि इन मसाइल को हम लोग मुआशरे के अंदर, मेरा पर्सनल ये इशू है, मैं दूसरे मौलाना से नज़र से रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा कि इस मसले के ऊपर सिर्फ एहतियात से काम लें। मुआशरे में पहले से आग लगी हुई है, हम लोग अपने साथ पेट्रोल लेकर ना चलें ताकि उसको और ज़्यादा इग्नाइट करें, बल्कि पानी लेके चलें ताकि उसको बुझा सकें। तो मैं कोशिश करूँगा कि जितना हो सके आग बुझाई जाए, बढ़ाई ना जाए। तो इसलिए जितना हो सके जिस जहाँ पे जो जैसा समझता है अपने हिसाब से जिन से रब्ता कर रहा है वो उसी हिसाब से अमल करता रहे। ये मसला हल होने वाला नहीं है जब तक ये ज़बूत ना हो जाए। ये मेरा अपना तजुर्बा होता है, इंशाअल्लाह ताला अल्लाह करे कि बिल्कुल जल्दी हो जाए ताकि मसला जल्दी हल हो जाए। Can we have the hadith on marriage? I'm willing to translate into English. Very good. Okay, someone's given their email address. You can have my email address. After the marriage, whoever sent this. There are many hadiths. I would suggest there are many translations. Okay. So whoever it is, you can inshallah contact the organizers, and inshallah they will give you email address. And if you're willing to translate, then you can also contact me through the organizers, inshallah, and I will give you more details on that. Who should hold more value in your heart? Your spouse or your family, e.g. parents? Should parents be involved in your marriage life if you live in with them? Okay. The old question that has always existed ever since the marriage institution has taken place: who has more priority, your parents or your spouse? And the question is, in my personal opinion, they both have their own positions. In some places, the issue concerns my spouse, it has nothing to do with my parents, so the spouse has priority. In many of the issues, it is concerning my parents, my spouse has nothing to do with it, then I should not be involved with my spouse, it should be me who should take the responsibility. I should not give my burden to my spouse. And many times it does happen where the two interact, where the institute, where basically the parents are also involved and the spouse. There, the parents, Sharia does say, should not be overruled. Even though you may disagree, you have to disagree with respect. And even if you decide not to obey, then it is in some places not allowed, and the places where it is allowed, where you can, for example, you don't have to follow them, it must not be in a disrespectful way. That is haram. Disrespecting parents in any way and form is haram in Islam. I couldn't give a shorter answer than that. Inshallah, he will be talking about it in more detail, so inshallah, refer your questions to him. I'll give him some of the questions, and you can also send your questions. The last question. Often, husbands feel that because they are the man, they can come and go out as they please, and the wife must stay at home and go out less. Please explain the importance of compromise and intensity, time and effort in a marriage, both husband and wife. Now, a man should not be taking advantage of his gender when in a relationship. You will inshallah all look at me and observe me when I'm saying these words. Even when you give a look to another being who is weaker than you, and you want them to feel that they're weaker than you and you're stronger, you want to take advantage, and you take your eyes out, even for that you will have to answer in the hereafter. حتیٰ حضرت کی نگاہ سے کسی ایسے کو جو کمزور ہے آپ سے, صرف بیوی نہیں, بیوی ہو یا کوئی بھی ہو, اس طرح سے دیکھنا کہ اس کو بتایا جائے میں زیادہ طاقتور تم کون ہو, آنکھیں نکال کے دکھانا, اس کا بھی حساب کتاب دینا پڑے گا, چاہے وہ چھوٹا بہن بھائی ہو, بیوی ہو, اولاد ہو, کسی کا بھی. اس حد تک شریعت نے کہا تو جو مرد ایڈوانٹیج لے رہے ہیں ان کو قبر میں جا کے معلوم ہو جائے گا. میں نے کسی جگہ پہ واپس آتا ہے سر محترموں سے بحث کر رہے ہیں تو نہیں پڑھتا بھائی, میں نے کہا نہیں یہ آپ کو شب اپنے قبر میں پتا چل جائے گا کہ میں سے نہیں آپ سے. کچھ جگہوں پہ وہیں پہ پتا چلے گا, اس سے پہلے تو ہم لوگ جاننا چاہتے ہی نہیں. سو بہرحال حضرت سعد ابن معاذ کا واقعہ سب کے ذہنوں میں ہوگا ہماری شریف اسی کے اندر, کہ جو اپنی بیوی کے ساتھ اچھے سلوک سے پیش نہیں آتے تھے. پیغمبر نے کہا تھا ان پہ جہاد ثابت ہے. He did not have to go to the battlefield front because he was providing for the battle, the expenses. پورا بجٹ کو دیا کرتے تھے. پیغمبر نے سامنے کہا تھا ان پہ جہاد ثابت ہے. رسول خدا ننگے پاؤں ننگے سر ان کے جنازے میں آئے تھے. Without any amama, without wearing any shoes, the Holy Prophet attended his funeral. And even then, the Holy Prophet said because he did not behave nicely with his family, he is now going through adab. And when his wife forgave him, that's when he came out of the adab, the punishment and the wrath. So we all have to answer for our own positions. Do I take advantage of my position? I will have to answer for it. So any individual who takes advantage of their position, they have to answer for it. Okay? Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
سب سے پہلے مولانا نظر صاحب کا خاص طور پہ تشریف لائے. خصوصی جو سیشن ہم نے یہاں رکھا ہے خواتین کے لیے, جو ہمارے لاسٹ سیشن کازز ڈیورس کے بعد ہوگا, اس کو کنڈکٹ کریں گی مولانا توفیق نقوی صاحبہ. ان کا ایک آرٹیکل جو ہے مقالہ فارسی میں تھا, جنہوں نے ہمارے لیے اردو میں اس کو ٹرانسلیٹ کیا ہے. ہمارے پاس کچھ سیڈیاں موجود ہیں یہاں پر, اس میں ہم نے 2 ٹاپکس کو ہم نے شامل کیا سی ڈی میں. ایک تو بک ہے اسلامک میریجز کے حوالے سے, بہت بہترین انگلش میں کتاب ہے یہ ہم نے آن لائن بھی رکھی ہے اور اس کو ہم سی ڈی میں بھی دے رہے ہیں. یہ سید اختر حسین صاحب کی لکھی ہوئی ہے اور آیت اللہ سیستانی صاحب کی ویب سائٹ پہ بھی اویلیبل ہے. تو آپ لوگ جب جائیں تو سی ڈی ضرور لیں. اور دوسرے یہ کہ محترمہ توفیق نقوی صاحبہ کا جو مقالہ ہے وہ ہم نے ایز اٹ از اس کے اندر ڈال دیا ہے, لیکن انشاءاللہ ہم کوشش کریں گے کہ اس کو انگلش میں بھی ٹرانسلیٹ کریں اور آپ سب اس کو پڑھیں. بہترین مقالہ ہے, آپ نے ریسرچ کی ہے اس کے اندر. اور آج لیڈیز کے لیے جو اسپیشل سیشن ہے وہ بھی وہ کنڈکٹ کریں گی. لاسٹ سیشن ہوگا ہی ان کا. اس پروگرام کے آخر میں ہم سب سے درخواست کریں گے کہ ایک اسیسمنٹ ہے, وہ ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ آپ لوگ اس کو فارم فل کریں اور ہمیں اپنی رائے دیں کہ ہم کس طریقے سے اور پروگرام اس طریقے کے منعقد کر سکتے ہیں جس سے کمیونٹی کی اصلاح ہو. اور اب جو ہمارا نیکسٹ ٹاپک ہے وہ بہت امپورٹنٹ ہے, مولانا رضا حیدر صاحب اس پہ بات کریں گے. اور میرے خیال سے میجورٹی جو ڈیورس ہوتی ہیں وہ اس ٹاپک پہ ہوتی ہیں. ان کا ٹاپک ہے کرائٹیریا آف سلیکشن اینڈ ڈاوری, حق مہر. یہ 2 معاملات ہوتے ہیں, اس پہ اکثر لڑائیاں بھی ہوتی ہیں. طلاق حق مہر کے سلسلے میں بھی کافی پیچیدگیاں ہوتی ہیں. اور سلیکشن آف کرائٹیریا, کسی کو نہیں پتا کہ لڑکا جو شادی کرنے جا رہا ہے اس کو نہیں پتا کہ اس کو کس طریقے سے اپنی بیوی کا انتخاب کرنا ہے, یا لڑکی جو شادی کرنے جا رہی ہے اس کو کس طریقے سے اپنے پارٹنر کا انتخاب کرنا ہے. کیا کوالٹیز اسلام نے بتائی ہیں کہ وہ اس کے اندر تلاش کرے. اور پھر اس کے سر کے اوپر ماں باپ کا ایک پریشر کہ ماں باپ اپنی مرضی, اپنا ٹریڈیشن, اپنا کلچر وہ بھی اس کے اوپر اپلائی کرتے ہیں. تو یہ بہت اہم ٹاپک ہے. میں سمجھتا ہوں کہ مولانا رضا حیدر صاحب اس پہ آج بہت مفصل